Alrighty then. Hello everyone. Look at what we're doing today. I am so tired, but I am so glad to bring up Vampire Survivors yet again. Mostly because I am super excited to be off today, and I wanted to get some of the zany energy out and provide a service for my people. I think it's Lawrence of Arabia. I am a river to my people. Yeah, I'm a river to my fans, my peeps, my dudes, my guys. So, what are we doing today? I am going to kill death with a sexy witch. Because you know what? Killing death with a sexy witch, that's what gets the views. Where are we going to kill death with a sexy witch? I think we're going to kill death with a sexy witch in the library with a lead pipe. Let's see. I'm thinking, boom. What we're going to do, we're going to immediately get axed by a sad, exploding witch. I'm assuming she's upset for some reason, but we don't have to worry about it. We're going to be fine. So, as many of you know, unpopular opinion, I like the witch. Unpopular opinion, yeah, the witch isn't bad. The witch is just... The problem with the witch in this is that she has a really good weapon if you level it up. The only problem is getting everything dealt with can be a bit nasty until you get her sorted. Yeah, that's a better option. I really wanted to make a cutesy, witchy pentagram, thematic, but and then we would have gotten the crown. That would have been really, really neat. Well, that'll be fine. We can get the crown anyway. We'll have the power of God and sexiness on our side. Yeah, the witch is really, really fun. I actually really like her character design. It's just really adorable. And let's see, what do I want? I don't really want any of those. So we're gonna banish the ones we don't like. Yeah, our goal here is purely murder death. Because that's the normal reaction. Oh god. All right, there we go. See, we're back in action. Oh, they started a small fight, which is good. That helps us out. Yeah, no, the witchy witch of the West, that's what I'm gonna call her, the witchy witch of the West, is honestly, like, the first time I played her, I was like, okay, the cats are really dumb. But apparently the cats, if they run across an item, they become like they get special stuff, which is really neat. And we drippity dropped, but we are back. We drippity dropped, but we are back. Yeah, that was a weird one, guys. Sorry about that. I don't entirely know what happened, but that was the first time I got notifications of it happening. That was pleasant. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and just really level up as much as we can right now. Because, like I said, we're avoiding our taxes and killing death. We're dealing with the two certainties in life in the best possible way. So, all right, let's see. Go ahead and knock that out. We're really pulling out all stops here to make sure we stay alive. So, like I said, we have the power of God and sexiness on our side. We have the witchy cat lady, and that's all we really needed in life, was a witchy cat lady. See if we can level up a hot second before doing this. There we go. All right, here we go. So what I am super stoked for with this combo is that I really doubt I'm gonna have much of an issue staying alive, because we gotta get this sexy witch to level 50 for personal reasons. We have to unlock whatever spell she has. Let's see, we're gonna re-roll that. Spellbinder, that's perfect. Now we are... Oh, look, it's like it knew what I needed. Yeah, I didn't mean to grab that this early, but you know what? It'll be fine. We can... In fact, I think at this point, it doesn't really matter if I grab all of them. I'm not, because then we'll get axed. Oh boy. So, I do have a topic, and I'm actually going to follow the topic guidelines this time, because, you know, I'm trying to have a theme here. I'm trying to provide meaningful understanding and cohesion. And to that end, I have a question for basically everyone on the planet, and that is, you know, everyone talks about having, you know, like, it's the era of retro gaming, like everyone likes, you know, the classics, but we've been liking the era of classics for like how long now? Like ages? So my question is, what era of classics are we on at this point? Because I should have grabbed the chest. Well. What era of classics are we on? Because, like, in all seriousness, the Super Nintendo, the SNES, like, retro craze was, like, when I was in high school. And maybe even a little bit before that. Whereas I feel like, honestly, I think we're in the... I don't think we can have, like, this sounds really sad, but I don't really think we can have, like, retro, like, content for the, like, PlayStation 1 era, just because it doesn't feel like a real, like, defining era. Yeah, it was the first, like, 3D games, but it was, like, it wasn't perfected 3D. And so you get kind of this weird mishmash of like, kind of, it felt like a halfway generation to me. Like, I grew up on the PlayStation 1, the PS1, and I don't view that as really the generation. I view the PlayStation 2 as the defining generation. But who knows? Maybe that's just me. I feel as though some people who might have been older than me probably remember the PS1 as more than just like the halfway point of the generation. For me, it's like the PS1 was... I was a Game Boy kid, so I'm the black sheep. Honestly, though, Yeller... Hello. Oh, gosh, he's cursing me. Oh, Lord. I was fine until Iron Man showed up, and then I had an errant cough. But yeah, no, you were Nintendo, and Nintendo, to be fair, I feel corners the retro scene, because it's like no one really talks about the GameCube as like the ultimate retro console. Everyone likes GameCube, but oh, I've trapped him. That's nice. But like, oh, no, come back. I didn't mean it. Okay, we gotta upgrade that pentagram, the pentalgoon. But yeah, no, I feel as though really people like GameCube games, but it's not old enough to be like, oh man, it's so retro. But like PlayStation 2, even though it came out in the same generation, it feels as though it's looked at differently, if you know what I mean. Like, when I think of retro, like, I can easily see PlayStation 2 as, like, retro, whereas I can't really see GameCube, because I think part of it is GameCube doesn't... there haven't been as many... I mean, have there been as many consoles on the... yeah, everyone is nostalgic for it, but I don't think it's like... I don't think it's retro. And maybe it's just semantics at that point, but it's like... I don't think people are saying, oh man, you know, the good old days of GameCube. It's like the games for it are what people miss. And yeah, I mean, to an extent, that's what retro nostalgia is the games. But it's a difference in how we talk about it, I guess, because it's like when I talk about the Super Nintendo, I'm envisioning a console that revolutionized like gaming. You know, it was the first major console that really said, okay, you know what? This is an arcade machine, but in your frickin' home. Like, it had a distinct feel, whereas GameCube, it was another 3D console. I don't know. It's weird to me. And again, that's just me being funky with GameCube. Maybe it's, again, I'm nostalgic for the GameCube, but I feel as though maybe it's like it came out in my generation, like, and I was old enough to like truly appreciate it, but not old enough to where I was like, you know, oh man, I'm a kid, and that's when I was a kid. That's just Chris being funky. Yeah, it's probably Chris just being funky, but again, to me, I think retro is such a weird thing, because I think there is a difference between being retro and being nostalgic for something. Like, I can have lots of nostalgia for things that aren't really, like, I wouldn't necessarily consider it, you know, old, but I can definitely view something as retro because it's old. You know what I mean? Like, I'm nostalgic for the GameCube, but I don't view it as retro, and I think part of that is because I was like 12 when I had my GameCube, and yeah, that was like 14 years ago, but 14 years ago doesn't feel old enough to be retro to me. I don't know. It's a weird one, but like, what age of retro are we in? Are we in the GameCube era retro? I know it's easy to pick on Nintendo, but well, I feel as though retro would be defined as something where, like, outside of, I mean, I guess it is, you know, because anything I can think of is like not sold in stores, hard to get a hold of, and wouldn't necessarily, like, isn't the previous generation, because I feel like something that has only been surpassed by one console. Let's start with what we wouldn't consider retro. Like, I would never consider, like, the earliest or the latest thing that we wouldn't consider retro. I think it has more to do with how much games have evolved since then than how long it's been. And I would kind of agree with that. Like, so I probably won't ever consider, well, not in the, you know, short term, I probably won't consider the Xbox 360 to be a retro title. Because if we're being honest, I don't think it's really, games haven't evolved much, and it's been too recently the console. 3DS doesn't feel retro because 3D is still kind of young and not all the way worked out. Yeah, and also, like, by all accounts, the 3DS was replaced by the Switch, and even then, not fully. Like, so to an extent, I wouldn't consider the 3DS retro. I would actually consider I would actually consider the DS, like, relatively retro, because it's been replaced multiple times. Not the 3DS, but the regular Nintendo DS. Like, that was a retro console. Switch is the way of the future. I only want slight improvements on the Twitch, or on the Switch. I want to see the Switch become the de facto console. Like, well, look, and again, that's the bias. I would make the argument that we have seen 3 or 4 iterations of the tech of the Nintendo DS, and the style of play for the DS has, to an extent, come and gone, because they don't make use of the touch nearly as much as they used to. I don't see tons of gameplay innovation. I mean, think about it. Guitar Hero was on the DS, which was dumb. It was dumb, but it worked. It worked. So, if Guitar Hero and the ability to strum a guitar was on the DS, I would say that that's downright retro. And the DS came out after the frickin', whatchamacallit. The DS came out after the GameCube, and I feel as though the GameCube is somehow less retro than the DS, and that's because the DS has been iterated on. Like, I feel as though the final iteration of the DS in some ways is the Nintendo Switch. Like a portable console that, by all accounts, is a dual screen thing, because you have your portable screen and then you have your, at-home screen. And its gimmick lies in its portability. The DS, the gimmick was mostly, oh, look, 2 screens. But, like, it's funky. And I would say that the Game Boy is absolutely retro. Like, easily the Game Boy is. And the Game Boy Advance, I would say, is also retro. I would say that it got superseded in the grand scheme of things. I don't know. I think that's a tough one to call, but it's like, to go back to the question, what's the newest console that I wouldn't consider retro? And it's like, I wouldn't consider the PlayStation 4 retro. I wouldn't consider the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 retro. And I think to an extent, that's because, like you said, what is the PS5 if not just, oh, it's the PS4 with added features? What is the Xbox 360 if not, an older version of the Xbox Series X? And so I think we're going to stop seeing retro as a concept. Also, I would make the argument that if the game could be potentially released on PC, if you could envision a release of a game on PC, like first party, like, Konami released Metal Gear onto PC, or Konami released like Castlevania on PC, which was weird, and it was a retro collection, but it was designed for PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4. So the fact that it is still being releasable. I played Sims on an old-ass PC. That shit was retro. And yes, to be fair, there are retro games on PC, absolutely. But it's like, what I'm envisioning is that when you get to the grand scheme of things, there are games that I would never, or there are consoles that I wouldn't consider retro because they haven't iterated from it. Super Nintendo iterated on the NES by providing maybe not as good graphics as arcade games, but graphics that were so universally loved that you can't, like, you can't, because I had flared pants. Yeah, well, look, but that's the thing, though. It's like, I would make the argument that really the Super Nintendo I consider retro because it iterated on the medium. It gave us pretty much arcade-style graphics, but in the home. It gave us evolution of concepts. It took The Legend of Zelda and made A Link to the Past a definitive title that iterates on everything that Zelda had to offer, for better and worse. Like, I will not sit here and compare Link to the Past and The Legend of Zelda, because you know what? Frickin' Egoraptor and Aaron Hansen has already done it, and as much as he hates that video because he thinks he got stuff wrong and the community hated him for it, no, he got a lot of stuff right. I agree with 90% of his points, and I think that if we're being honest, he's being a little bit too hard on himself. But regardless of that, thing is, it iterated. It innovated. The GameCube took what the N64 did, which I would consider the Nintendo 64 a retro console. But they took that and absolutely just said, hey, turns out the Nintendo 64 was not the console to put 3D on. Yeah, it's okay, but the N64 looks clunky. Like, there's no denying that the N64 looks more than a little clunky. So, yeah, the GameCube said, hey, 3D games are here. Like, we can finally make 3D not look bad. And all it took was a couple of extra, like, vertexes on our like, vertices on our polygons to make it look, like, good. Like, GameCube games still look good. Maybe that's part of it, is, like, GameCube games still look good. Not perfect, mind you, but, like, they still look good. And I know that's a stupid bar to set for what defines a retro game, because, I mean, come on. They make terrible looking games, like, all the time. But in the grand scheme of things, I guess what I'm saying is the GameCube has not become this, like, bastion of, you know, it hasn't become this bastion of, like, oh, this used to look good and now it looks like crap. Because, like, there is no, look, you can say, oh, but the N64 has charm with its graphics, but I mean, they were doing the best they could. I think the argument is, if they could have done better, would they? And I think that is absolutely something that I can make that argument is, yeah, if they could have done better, they would have. Okay, if you're talking about the N64 controller, I don't think they knew what they were thinking with it. The GameCube controller, on the other hand, I stand by being the best controller of all time. Like, absolutely, it was the best controller. Because everything was visually and physically distinct. I could feel the difference between every button in an instant. So I knew what I was pressing. Everything felt like it was designed around it. So your main button was big and chunky, and that felt good. Your non-main buttons were, you know, a little bit smaller, more utility, and that worked. Like, I keep looking to the left. My camera is here now. Like, I don't want to sit here and be like, the GameCube is not retro. It is a console that has been superseded, but what it does is not particularly different than what games have been doing. Well, yeah, it is to the left from my angle. Yeah, well, I've got two cameras on me. All eyes are on me right now, and that's no, I don't know. I think it's a tough thing to say and just blanket statement, but it's like, Super Mario Odyssey feels a lot like Super Mario Sunshine. Like, not in every way, but in a lot of ways, it feels like Super Mario Sunshine. Oh, you want a foot cam? Oh man, don't worry. I'll set that up for my only feats. I promise. But like, to me, that's the difference. Is Breath of the Wild is truly different. That's different from any Zelda game that we've got. Again, for better and worse. But we haven't truly changed how we approach Zelda. We still haven't changed how we approach like Mario. So is the GameCube retro? Or, I mean, part of that is just Nintendo is very slow to change, which is, you know, a problem. But I would say that is absolutely a benchmark. I won't be into Nintendo until the development and graphics improve. See, I don't think graphics are everything. I just want consistency with graphics. Like, by all accounts, Breath of the Wild is using subpar graphical capability because they had to get it onto the Wii U, which was already an aged hardware by the time they got Breath of the Wild onto it. It was designed to be a Wii U title. So yeah, I don't blame Breath of the Wild for not looking as good as it could have. I will say that I think that Nintendo does get a lot of a pass by the community for being like, oh, well, it's not about the graphics, it's about the fun. And I agree, it is about the fun. Like, there is no, like, I'm not gonna say graphics matter that much, but it's also very telling to me that when I say, oh yeah, you know, Breath of the Wild could have looked better if they hadn't tried to focus so much on, you know, this aspect and instead made it stylized, which people are like, oh, well, it's stylized. I guess it is, but the textures look a little bit muddy, but not in a way where I say, oh, that's intentional. The textures look a little bit muddy, in my opinion, because they couldn't afford the visual fidelity on the platforms that they were releasing it on. And that's fine. Well, so the Switch can do much more. Like, I will make the argument that Super Mario Odyssey looks very visually appealing. Kirby looks very visually appealing. But, well, Kirby the Forgotten Land. But the problem is, Kirby, to an extent, wasn't trying to look... I don't know. Maybe to me, it's just... And maybe part of this is because of what has come out after it has screwed this up with perception. But to me, Breath of the Wild almost looks a little bit generic. Like, not the characters, but the visuals. Like, it looks like an open world survival game, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. Maybe it's just my perception of it is that it's a game that could look immediately generic if I didn't know that Zelda produced it. But because Zelda and Nintendo produced it, I'm supposed to ignore how some of the stuff in that game looks a little bit generic. how the enemy variety in that game isn't necessarily bad, but it's not great. But I would also say that for their best titles, they should be putting everything they can into. Well, and I've pulled out this stupid nugget, and I'm going to call it a stupid nugget because, yeah, it's dumb. It's a dumb argument. Wind Waker looks better than Breath of the Wild. And part of that is because Wind Waker does, in fact, have a certain level of, you know, polarizing. Like, Wind Waker was not what people wanted. Wind Waker was the opposite of what people wanted in their Zelda game. Like, there's no doubt about it. People lambasted that game on launch because it wasn't dark and edgy like it wasn't dark and edgy like Ocarina of Time was trying to be. It wasn't a terrifying game. It was cutesy and cartoony. But I would make the argument that it did something that Breath of the Wild didn't. It dared to look completely different from what it was. Of like the rest of the games in the franchise. I don't think we got that from Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild looked a little bit like Twilight Princess and a little bit like Ocarina of Time and a little bit like Skyward Sword. And that's not a complaint. Like, those games look good. But if I released Wind Waker HD, I would absolutely still think that it's a modern title. Oh, don't worry, fam. I've got to revive. Death can't stop me. Like I said, this is the game where we beat death and taxes. Come on, Death. I don't need you doing that again. Come on. Newest one is the Switch. Or I guess the Switch OLED. Which, yeah, make your portable screen, make your portable gaming screen the most oh god, there's two! Which one's which? Oh god, Death brought his buddy! I'm not dealing enough damage! No, they keep saying they're making a Switch Pro. And, that's the rumor mill, but the Switch Pro apparently got knocked down to, kind of being just the, whatchamacallit? The OLED. So, we didn't necessarily get the super cool, Switch Pro, which would have been nice. However, looking at it, I kind of think that what we really need with that is we really just need a Switch with hardware that will sustain it. Like, what they should do is make the Switch a two-parter upgrade system. So you can upgrade the console and you can upgrade the dock. So you start with the base Switch model. And then the next iteration of that is take your Switch, the Switch that you currently have. You already own that. And then for $150, you can get the Switch Dock Pro. And what that does is it makes it to where when you plug it into your TV, it has higher fidelity because it has internals that can improve your Switch on the TV. So you get 4K 120 FPS support, or better shading, or better power regulation, like charges your Switch console in like under an hour, and offers better viability for controllers. So like with the new dock, it has a built-in antenna that can increase the range of your controller or allow better motion control. That would be a great $200 upgrade or $150 upgrade. Make it to where you don't need it, but it absolutely provides better quality for your game or for your console. Then, 2 years after that, make the Switch Pro, which does not as much on portable, but it improves the battery life when you're taking it on the go. It improves the controllers for on the go. It allows games to make use of a better GPU or a better CPU or anything like that. And then make it to where that functions well with the Switch Pro dock. And together, they can really beef up the capabilities of the console. And then upgrade the dock again. And then upgrade the console again. Make it a cheaper series of smaller upgrades that you can replace in half the console cycle, as opposed to what we have currently, which is, I don't really think I'm going to want a PlayStation 6, because what are they going to do? They're going to make 8K games? The PS5 is already rated as 8K ready. So what kind of upgrade is that going to be? Oh, nothing? Okay, well, cool. And again, I think that is the problem, is I don't see that being a... I don't see the need for a PS6 yet. I can't see a need for the PS6. And by the time we see a need for the PS6 or the Xbox Series Y, are you naming it this, which is what I'm going to call it, the Xbox Series Y. That's what I'm going to name it. That's my joking title for that. By the time we see that, they're just going to buy all the 4070s that aren't being bought and shove it in the PS6, which, again, I'm going to be honest, the PlayStation 5 plays games and it looks good and it runs well. I like it. I have no issue with it. But, and it's, again, a kind of big but on this regard, I don't think that... I just lost my entire train of thought. One second. I don't think that we're going to see a need for the PS6. And I don't think 7 years is really a good, time frame for anything. I think that that's it's too much. Like it's not, your hand isn't on the pulse, I guess is what I'm saying. Like with the PS5, the hand can't be on the pulse because if we're being honest, by the time you get the PS6 out, gamers might want something new. Whereas if you can get smaller upgrades out faster, then what you're doing is making it to where your hand can always be on the pulse. Your finger can always be on the pulse, which is good. That's a universally good thing for gamers, because if they like an upgrade, they got it. If they don't like an upgrade, they don't have to worry with it. Whereas right now, if I wanted to play the newest Ratchet & Clank game, which I did because that was my childhood, I had to get a PS5. Was it worth it to get the PS5? Yeah, we play it, and I'm going to be playing it more, especially on stream, once we get into our office, which should be happening next week. I think they find out a way to integrate Steam into the console. And see, look, we need to get away from game consoles as a concept. Not because game consoles are bad. Far be it. Game consoles are better than PC, and I will bang that drum any day of the week. And that is not a, oh, this is Chris being like contrarian. Yeah, I have a gaming PC. Yeah, I always play on my gaming PC. I do not play on console. I fundamentally disagree with how we handle PC gaming, because PC gaming is giving us the nonsense that we are seeing, like Call of Duty being 250 gigabytes. That's not a console thing. Like, you cannot convince me that, you know, Activision Blizzard was like, oh yeah, we're going to make it to where you can't install other games on your console. Yeah, that would be a diabolical thing, but on the other hand, I don't think people are willing to put up with that. But if it's already like that on PC, then suddenly it's not really a, like, it's kind of like, oh, well, it's like this on PC too, and, you know, PC players, they have to pay large sums of money to upgrade their storage and blah 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 and whatever the excuse is. But, like, at the end of the day, I can do my taxes on my PC when I can't do my taxes on console. But on the other hand, when I sit down and I want to play a game, nothing has been easier to sit down and play a game than my PlayStation 5 or my Xbox 360 or what have you, or my Nintendo Switch. Because you know what? All they are is games. All it is games. When I get onto my computer, it's like, oh, well, before I start playing games, I really should try to do something online. I should try and be productive. Or I should browse Reddit for a bit. Or, oh, let me configure this new game. Or, oh, let me do this thing. Which, again, is not a problem. It's not a bad thing. But what that means is that PC gaming, at least to me, is distracted gaming. It is... Gaming is a section of what I'm doing. And not really what I am doing. It's a section of what I'm doing. When I got the PlayStation 5, Emma watched me as I poured countless hours into Ratchet & Clank, which was great. It was a phenomenal game. I will review it because I want to. Because, man, if more AAA games were like that, we would be in a better world. But that game was phenomenal, and it's still phenomenal. And I played it so much easier and so much more than PC gaming because when I wanted to play it, I sat down. It was already loaded when I launched the thing. It made it easy to hop back in. It made it easy to save. It made it easy to like playing. I didn't have to configure anything. I didn't have to try to jump through hoops to get things working. I installed it, I played it, and then when I beat it, I was like, man, that was fun. I should do that again. And I'm going to start another playthrough as soon as we get into the office because I kind of want to make Em sit down and play it and let her enjoy one of the nicest games of the frickin' generation. Like, I think it's, again, phenomenal. With PC, you don't get that. So consoles are better than PC gaming. And that's where I'm getting back to my point that was lost 8 years ago in this explanation. Consoles are better, but they need to be removed from exclusivity. You know how when you're buying a Blu-ray player, you can shop around? Like, I don't necessarily have to get a Panasonic Blu-ray player. And this is a dated fucking analogy, by the way. Sorry to anyone watching this in future once we have relegated disc-based media to the trash. But Blu-rays needed players, and players were not exclusive. I could get my Blu-ray player from Panasonic. I could get my Blu-ray player from Sony. I could get a Sony PlayStation 3 and it was a Blu-ray player. That's awesome. Because what it meant was that the Blu-ray market, the Blu-ray player, was something where the innovation of hardware was driven by the fact that anyone could make it. Anyone could make a Blu-ray player. So you had to make your Blu-ray player either the best Blu-ray player or the cheapest Blu-ray player or the most feature-rich Blu-ray player. You had creativity. Blu-ray players were some of the first smart TV devices because, oh, hey, you like discs? Well, check this out. You don't even need a disc for Netflix. Yeah, you used to have to order Netflix to put the discs into this player, but now that they've launched their streaming service, we've decided to innovate for you. We're going to give you, the Blu-ray player that connects to the internet so you can take your Netflix subscription and not make our box obsolete. That was really smart. That was probably one of the smartest things that Blu-ray players, a dying cottage industry, could do, because suddenly you're like, oh, well, I need my Blu-ray player because that's how I get to the Netflix. That was really smart. That was very smart. Consoles, why do they need to innovate? Oh, the Xbox Series X is faster and it makes more games more good-looking and play gooder. And I'm like, okay, but I have a computer that can play all your first-party titles at better settings based on my rig individually, and so why would I care about you as a thing? and they're like, oh, and then Microsoft lays off 10,000 employees. So, yeah, there's that. But then it's like Sony comes out and they're like, oh, well, we've got direct drive storage, which is, the fastest storage on the market. Look at how seamlessly we can load games. Like, look at how seamless it is. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But, storage on my computer can load games basically as fast as what you're offering. And, yeah, I can file my taxes on it. And then Sony's like, well, yeah, no, actually, it was mostly the Halo campaign development team that got axed, so we're not going to get story DLC, and so Halo Infinite is going to be relegated to the trash can, which is fine. I hate to say it, great game, but it belongs in the trash can. It was a over-monetized and underdeveloped game that was supposed to be a 10-year franchise, like, giant, and it's dead after a year and a half. Like, sorry, where's my forge? Where's my custom matches? Where's my lobbies? Where's campaign co-op? But anyway, I digress. What Xbox can offer, what Nintendo can offer, and what Sony can offer is exclusive games. And you know what I hate? You know what I hate more than anything else? I hate exclusive games. Because you know what happens with exclusive games? Exclusive games become the thing that get lost to time. Oh, sorry, Metal Gear Solid 4 can really only run on a PlayStation 3 because the hardware of the PlayStation 3 is so, like, freaking nuanced that, like, you literally, like, as of 2023, you can kind of get Metal Gear Solid 4 to run on a on a PC with a powerful enough processor. Like, you can kind of get it to run. Whereas, PS3, I can pop it in if I can find a PlayStation 3 and a copy of Metal Gear Solid 4. Yeah, I can stream it kind of on, PS Now or whatever they're calling it now. Okay, I mean, neat, but also, okay, like, I'm relegated yet again to an exclusive service that could get discontinued at any time, or a console that's dead. So exclusives are inherently anti-consumer, and people will argue, but that's how they sell their consoles. Okay, but I think at this point it's been confirmed that, like, consoles are loss leaders. Like, you don't make your money from the console, you make your money from the subscription service and games released on the console. I can't wait till they remake Metal Gear Solid. So, I don't know if you've heard, but there are announcements planned for that, at least according to various rumors, which there's always various rumors about that, so take that with a grain of salt. But, to be fair, Konami, and also going to use the second one of however many I'm allowed to use, fuck Konami. Like, Konami is still the worst, and they will always continue to be the worst, so, like, let's not kid ourselves there. But I think they're tired of losing money, and so they're going to remake Metal Gear Solid and probably not get David Hayter back, which is going to be kind of suck. Well, and okay, but look, if it's just a remake, if it's like a play-by-play remake of Metal Gear Solid, which is what they need to do, just update the graphics and controls, use the Fox engine, and update the visuals and the controls. Don't do anything else. Keep the dialogue the same, all of that. That would be fine. I think Kojima has a phenomenal story already made. They don't need to remake it, and they don't really need Kojima to do it. So, like, by all accounts, I think it would be fine. I legit think it would be fine. But they're more than likely going to make it... Well, no, Metal Gear Solid, Phantom Pain, and Ground Zeroes was on PC. Hopefully, we will see a remake of a remake of Metal Gear Solid 4. Just give us a full quadrilogy of games. Give us timeline mode where you can play it in accordance with the timeline. Like if you have Metal Gear Solid 5, you can install it all and it will like work on it with you. I don't know, like, yeah. But to get back to the point, my frustration with exclusives is I can't play Metal Gear Solid 4 on anything without, one, having hardware that I can't find, or by stealing it and having it crash all the time because it's emulated on a system that really doesn't have the same architecture and will consistently have problems doing it. So, to that end, I would say, oh yeah, you know what? Turns out that having exclusivity is bad. But I like having games. I like having Sony show us what they've got. You know, I would love to play God of War to see what the whole joy of God of War is. And I have God of War. But you know what I don't have? I don't have all the other God of Wars that they released over the last several years because they're not on PC. I can't get to them. So, here's my argument. Decentralize the production of consoles. Incentivize the production of competition. You know, I want to see Nintendo be able to use Sony tech to make a more powerful Switch. I want to see Sony's ability to make use of Microsoft's game streaming capabilities. I want to see consoles become an easier way of... Oh man, we're freaking going crazy now, folks. But I want to see exclusives make money because the exclusives are good. Not the exclusives make money because if you don't buy the exclusives for the console, you wasted your money on a console. So that's my 2 cents. Like, Sony, keep making your first-party IPs, but release them on PC for God's sake. God of War sold gangbusters on PC. It got nominated for, like, Game of the Year on PC 2 years after it released. When was it released? When was the new reboot released? Not the sequel to the reboot, but the reboot. Yeah, also, stop doing that. Stop naming games the same as old games if it's not a direct reboot or remake, and even then, don't. But I digress. I don't know. That's just my thing. Is I look at it and I say, you know, what exactly are we doing here? Unless one of them monopolizes. Yeah, it'll never happen. I don't think it will ever happen. But that is what I think would foster the truest growth in the industry, is make it to where in order to sell your console, it needs to be worth having over another console that can do the exact same thing. Again, if Panasonic wants to make a PlayStation 5 that's mass-produced and plays everything crappier, but it's only $250, heck yeah. Let's do it. Like, let's do it. That sounds great to me. And I'm not even being facetious. Like, give us a Panasonic $200 crap PlayStation 5. And that way, people who can't get a hold of a PlayStation 5 can still enjoy the games, which is what Sony wants to sell anyway. They want to sell subscriptions, make it to where you still need, you know, for your Panasonic Station 5, they don't even have to change the acronym. They can call it the PS5, the Panasonic System 5. And make them have to have their subscription service if they want all those cool perks. That would be fine by me. It makes a lot of sense. And then people can't gatekeep. Oh, well, you don't know about God of War Ragnarok? Well, that's because you're too poor to get a PlayStation 5. Oh, you couldn't get a PlayStation 5 because of supply chain issues, because one company makes all the PS5s and they don't care about selling PS5s because they basically sell them at a loss. Oh, sucks to be you. And it's like, that's terrible. That's a horrible thing. If you don't want to sell PlayStation 5s, if you don't want to make PlayStation 5s because they cost too much to make, okay, don't make them. License it out. Let Kodak rise from the ashes and make a PlayStation 5, the KS5, the Kirkland Signature 5. Let Costco make the KS5. Let KFC make the Kentucky Fried Console like they always dreamed. Like, and I'm not being sarcastic. Offload your hardware to other developers. Make your curated experiences, and yeah, make your own in-house console that runs better for your stuff because you can optimize it for that hardware. Whatever happened to the KF console? I don't know. I need to know because apparently you can heat your rotisserie chicken in the top. You can heat your bargain bin chicken. Man, I want KFC. And after this stream, I'm going to get us KFC for lunch. I'm not even joking. And this is not a sponsorship deal from KFC. I have a sudden need for it. I don't know. It's just all of this to say that I don't have any large gripes over, like, Yeah, that's fine. You can have mac and cheese. I don't have any gripes over consoles, and this all stemmed, if I recall, from talking about retro games, but like, don't exclude what I'm allowed to play. Don't exclude what I can and can't play. I would love to play God of War. I don't want to play the old God of Wars. I don't like gruesome games, and the like old God of War was about as gruesome as you could get. Like, I don't like that type of game. But I hear that God of War, the new one, is a moving story about father-son bonding. And that's something I don't get to enjoy anymore on account of my dad's passing. So maybe I would like to be touched by a story about a father and son bonding with each other. I think that might be really cool. But I can't do that because I don't know what led Kratos to have a son and be dicking around the Norse mythology. And again, that's not their fault. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, you know, that's, you know, the fault of, you know, people for not, it's no one's fault, is what I'm saying. It's no one's fault because you don't think that far ahead. But we need to start being in that forward-thinking mindset. How many games are literally going to disappear into obscurity because we didn't preserve them? From a preservation perspective alone, you should have a universal platform that you design games for. Does it have to be the definitive version of the game? No. If Metal Gear Solid 4 really is definitively better on the PlayStation 3, which it isn't, Metal Gear Solid 4 is not a pinnacle title of innovation, regardless of what I want to believe, because I want to believe that. But no, it isn't. So, with that in mind, with that little nugget out of the way, have a universal platform wherein I can access that universal platform from any machine. Like, make it web-based, make it capable to be obtained, and give it to me. Give me that. I don't know. Like I said, that's ramble over, but that's just something that I don't understand it. If you want me to play your sequels and reboots, if everything's going to be sequels and reboots from here till the day we die, why have we not preserved the originals? Like, one, create more content. Like, create original content, please. And if you're not going to preserve something, you better make every reboot fucking count. Like, you know, make it to where you literally do not need to have played or seen the original at all to enjoy fully the game that you have replaced it with. Oh, man. Yeah, get over here. Get over here. Kid, you can't. Ha. You are going to expire quicker than you ever thought possible, you Atlantean. Oh, we're chugging. We're literally chugging on these sprites. We got a crab over there, which is fine. We're gonna murder him very quickly. We do become death, I will say that. This is the run of infinite kills and deaths. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen 100,000 kills, so that's pretty crazy. And like I said, after this one, well, no, I hadn't said it. After this lovely fight, I think I'm going to call it for the day. And again, you know, I know it's a short stream, but I don't want to wear myself out. I'm actually going to be finishing up the channel redesign today. Getting all of the stuff done, being completely out of things. It'll be good. I feel as though this game gets really stupid after a while, but like in a good way. Like, this is dumb, but let's be real. Sometimes it's okay to be dumb. Oh, and I will say in other news, once we swap over to the office and we get done with Shovel Knight, I do have a couple of pretty extended series planned. Hopefully it will be a phenomenal set of content. I've got some big plans. I haven't told Im these plans yet, but definitely going to be interesting. I think, at least. We are in the last, 2 minutes of the stream. I hope you guys have had fun. Like I said, I know it was last minute and very short notice, but, yeah, I just wanted to get a nice little stream out of my system, get all streamy, and kind of get an idea in my head what I wanted to do with the channel today, because, I do want to improve it. The audio is going to get a bump up in quality here shortly, and I think it's going to be good. My schedule is going to hopefully stabilize, so I should be able to fulfill the the plan on productivity there, and I look forward to having a couple of actual videos out instead of just streaming, which will be nice. You know what? Thank you so much. And I'm not done yet. I'm gonna screw death over on this one, I think. Yeah, you know what? Drowning death. You can't stop me. Take it easy, everyone. We're gonna, like I said, you can't avoid death and taxes. That's the lovely stupid comment or thing on the thing. But as you can see, you can never truly avoid death and taxes. But maybe we can. Oh, nope. We can't. All right. Everyone, it's been fun. I will see you guys Sunday, actually. Sunday. So we'll see you then. Woo!